Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming this evening. My name is Mike Smith, and I'd like to welcome you to Phoenix Public Library and the Burton Barr Central Library Pulliam Auditorium. We are pleased to present Beyond Brokeback, a staged reading with music this evening. This is part of the Out West series of programs this month that explore the contributions of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community to Western American history and culture. First, a couple of housekeeping items. We'd like to ask everyone to please turn off or silence any cell phones or other electronics. The restrooms are located in the hallway across the art gallery just opposite the auditorium entrance. And also, we've passed out evaluation forms as you came in. We'd like to ask that you please fill out an evaluation after the program this evening and drop it in the red basket at the rear of the room. We appreciate any feedback. The Out West series continues 2 weeks from tonight on Thursday, March 21st, here in the Pulliam Auditorium, when author, filmmaker, and playwright Gregory Hinton discusses writing books and making films with LGBT themes. The following week, on March 28th, the series concludes when filmmaker Lydia Nibley presents Two Spirits with a discussion following. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Arizona premiere of Beyond Brokeback.
More than 10 million people went to see Brokeback Mountain after it opened in the winter of 2005. For some of them, it was just a movie. But others, they walked out of the theater feeling like something had been ripped open inside of them. They talked to friends, to family, to roommates, and to therapists. Some found what they needed, others, they kept looking. Thousands found each other on a website called the Ultimate Brokeback Forum. Some came to discuss the film. Others needed to talk about themselves. Some of us saw a little more on the screen, and we were comfortable with it. And even before the film's release, it started. The trailer, it called us on our bullshit. There are lies we have to tell, one of the captions read. But there are truths we cannot deny. Lies we have to tell? Do we? When did we accept that? And what price did we pay? Jack and Ennis paid pretty dearly. And watching them swallow up their lies, well, it was what it finally took for some people. Many of us left the theater fired up. We'll never know how many slept on it and thought better of it. Maybe they could have lived with those lies. But we couldn't shake this film. It aided us for days, weeks. It demanded change, and it wasn't going away. The forum drew more than 500,000 posts in its first year. But the more startling figure concerns all the people who did not post. 50 to 100,000 came by each month to just silently witness. They had a unique position to watch. Thousands of lives changed before our eyes on this forum. At first, we shared the fictional lives, Jack and Ennis, getting ripped apart on the screen in the dark. Then we saw what these guys did to us. Not just the immediate reaction in the lobby or over drinks an hour later, the lasting effect, months down the road. Who changed? Who didn't? With all the unexpected turns in our own stories, so many changes. I never foresaw that. I wish I could say I created Ultimate Brokeback Forum to help all those people, but it never crossed my mind. It never occurred to me that they would need it. The intensity of the fallout from this film, it took me by surprise. I started this website just to help the film, and it was the audience who was left in need. there. Oh, the winter wind was never our friend. It brought the early snow that drove us down to the narrow town that gave no shelter from the cold. Meet me on the mountain when summer comes again. Meet me on the mountain. I'll be waiting for you there. It's not a matter of yeses and nos when you feel it in your bones. A love like ours and the great still ours was no one's business but our own. Meet me on the mountain when summer comes again. Meet me on the mountain. I'll be waiting for you there. I'll be waiting for you there. I'll be waiting for you then.
On December 12, 2005, I saw Brokeback Mountain at a crowded matinee in Manhattan with a close friend. The story, which I reread for the first time since it appeared in the New Yorker in 1997, and the general air of expectancy around the film had made me eager to see it. But nothing could have prepared me for the impact of that first viewing. As my friend and I left the theater, we exchanged no more than 2 or 3 sentences about the film, both of us feeling overwhelmed and stunned into silence.
I am consumed. I am cursed. There are so many memories, so much pain. I had successfully buried most of it until this movie brought it all rushing back. I had actually convinced myself I was happy, doing okay. I am so lost, so very alone. I just got back from milking 95 head of cows. It gives me time to think about what I have been feeling.
Credits roll. I hurried to grab my coat, straightened my baseball cap, fearful that every emotion I was laughing off to myself, in order not to let them out, would pour out in the lobby. I could not look anyone in the eye for fear I would not know how to speak to them. I stumbled out confused, with a piercing pain in my chest and stomach. My phone rings, and I find it hard to breathe and speak to my ex on the line. I huff out, I just saw Brokeback Mountain. I really can't talk right now.
When the movie ended, I just stayed in my seat through all the credits, giving time to compose myself before leaving. I was alone, as the others sitting behind me had already left, so no one saw how red my eyes were.
I don't recall having a desire to go see Brokeback Mountain. I assumed it would be all about gay bashing. Who wants to see that? And I just didn't want to get my heart broken.
You stagger out of the cinema in a daze.
It hit me like a missile.
I was stunned. I sat in this theater alone after everyone left and cried.
It has made me think, reach out, contact the love of my life, consider making geographic moves. In short, it ripped down every wall I built around my heart.
Why do some people walk out of the theater and go to dinner and talk about the weather, while others walk out to find the horizon has been erased?
Are we so powerfully affected by this movie because so much of our lives are numb? And this movie won't let us be numb?
I met a friend at a party a month after I'd seen Brokeback Mountain. As usual, we discussed some movies we'd recently attended, and he asked me about the Ang Lee film. I blurted out, "I can't get it out of my soul."
I think Eigo should get his ass over here and clean my house. It's not my fault I can't get anything done.
And after he's done at your house, he needs to come to my house and help my kids with their homework. The teachers at school probably think I'm out of town and my husband's in charge.
Brokeback Mountain provided us with a language of loss that we could all understand. Brokeback hit us directly in the heart and ripped our protective layers to shreds. It left us vulnerable and raw, but also alive. Brokeback cannot give meaning or purpose to our lives, but it has exposed the need, shown us that we may have lost our direction and we need to reclaim it.
We all have stories to tell, just as I'm sharing part of mine here. Our stories are fundamental to how we make sense of the world, how we know and understand one another, through joy and suffering. Our stories embody our hopes and dreams and future possibilities.
I am Scottish and live in Spain, and I have just come, virgin-like, to Brokeback. It has dropped a depth charge into my very existence, blowing away all of the digressive rubbish 50 years on the planet have filled my brain with, reminding me, perhaps just in time, that love in all its forms is the only imperative to which the soul should learn. Ang and the gang, you should be very proud. This is a life-changing work of art.
Remember those two shirts that smell of grass and mountain air, lingering no more?
Your face is a memory, our threadbare sleeves entwined. Come home to me now.
I left pieces of me on the road for you to find. Is there anything more than darkness at the end of our journey?
Jack.
I live in the general region of Childress, where the movie was banned. And well remember the gay bashings, murders that were not uncommon around here during the late 70s, early 80s, and even still. A friend of mine who, for a while, was more than that, was one of many innocent victims. I can't begin to imagine the impact this movie has and will continue to have in my life.
Brokeback Mountain hit me like a Mack truck. It ran right over my body and left tire tracks, indelible and permanent on my soul. Every day for more than a month, during long walks I confronted long suppressed memories and struggled to come to grips with the demons those memories freed. My first memory, a happy one, stretches back to the age of 5 or 6. I was holding my grandmother's hand, and then she introduced me to her cowboy pals, Bud and Manuel. From their scuffed leather boots to their weathered Stetsons, they looked like real men, lean, muscular, with big, callous hands and strong faces tanned by the sun. Bud owned a cattle ranch. Manuel was his foreman. They built barbed wire fences and rode the range together on horseback. Later on, I also realized they shared a bed. Bud and Manuel were gay cowboys, even though neither man would have known what gay meant 60 years ago. In those days, gay folk were called queers and homos. Nobody but Bud and Manuel would have dared ask if they were gay, but everybody sensed Bud belonged to Manuel. They were an inseparable pair, just like my grandmother's merry friends. I thought a lot about Bud and Manuel after viewing Brokeback Mountain. They are long gone, but I wish they were here to share their story with me. How did they forge a relationship in rural California in the 1940s? 3 visual metaphors from Brokeback Mountain echo in the memories of every gay man who came out when Ennis and Jack were struggling to accept their love. The closet, the bloodied shirts, and the tired iron. Most gay men were wedged in closets so tight and airless we could hardly breathe. We all had bloody shirts, the secrets and the pain and hurt we experienced. We all feared the iron that could strike suddenly and violently. My gay friends have been attacked with everything from broken bottles and baseball bats to rocks and ice picks. Brokeback Mountain started me on a journey of self-healing, and during my walks I confronted many things I long suppressed. Everything came spilling out, but with the help of my friends I worked through it all, and I wouldn't trade that journey for anything. It has left me to self-understanding and self-acceptance. I call it the Brokeback Miracle.
Everyone should have the opportunity to watch Brokeback Mountain. This masterpiece is a weapon against ignorance, intolerance, and the like. Rimbaud thought that poetry can change a life. I'm one of those who believe that Brokeback Mountain can change a life.
I'm a 56-year-old divorced woman. I have had such an incredible experience after watching Brokeback Mountain. I'm still trying to sort out all my emotions. I had low expectations for this film, due to all the hoopla and negativity. I was not prepared for what happened to me when I watched it. I have never understood how two people of the same sex could love each other like a man and a woman. And I have tried all my life to come to terms with this, but without a lot of success. As I was sitting there watching Anderson Jack, it started to hit me with such power I couldn't control it. That's what Brokeback Mountain did to me. Now that I know how beautiful love can be between two men, I have to stop now because I'm crying and overcome with my emotions.
Cost of movie tickets, $42 for 6 showings. Weight gained by a diet of popcorn, Junior Mints, and Cherry Coke, 7.3 pounds. Box of Kleenex to dry unexplained bouts of crying, 4. Money spent on eBay on I Heart Gay Cowboys t-shirt, $13, plus $5 shipping. Believing in love again as I watch the doozy embrace, priceless.
A lot of people, myself included, have been confused and a little bit freaked out by their strong emotional reactions to Brokeback Mountain. To wit, the tears that seem almost non-stop in the weeks after first seeing the movie or reading the book, and that seem to kick right back in at the drop of a cowboy hat in the months that follow. Some have said it felt like Brokeback Mountain uncovered a well of sadness in them that they didn't know existed, which also applies to me. What didn't make sense to me was why people with seemingly little in common, male or female, straight or gay, happily married or divorced, single or partnered, all ended up in the same way, sobbing as if our hearts would break. I think each of us who has had this reaction has experienced severe emotional wounding that, up until now, has never been healed by grieving. I also think that the reason we had not grieved up until now is that the wounding, even though severe, was a slow process, so slow that many of us didn't even know we had been hurt until we saw the slow, indisputable proof laid out before us on the screen or page, and realized that, to varying degrees, it was a story of our wounding being told.
I'm a lesbian and I'm struggling to find happiness in my life. I have issues to resolve with that special lady in my life. I have some individuals in my past who linger in my memories as a disappointment. Of course, there are also straight women around me today who cannot return my affection. Even if some of them in another world would feel safe to explore that side of themselves. So the movie hit home for me. The concepts of lost love, of impossible circumstances, of waiting, of hoping, of settling for crumbs when you are capable of giving so much more.
I am 61. No man who is gay does not live in the closet, betraying the truth about himself, denying who he is by presenting himself as who he is not, often many times a day, in the bank, in the laundry, at the gas station, to a neighbor, to a stranger. Not just for convenience, but out of fear, mistrust, anxiety, that is a low-grade constant because no gay man has not seen the hostility, not encountered the contempt at one time or another. If you have not felt personally threatened, many have felt the smashing blows. But every gay man at one time knows the toll this disdain or derision takes, but if it is sometimes dealt with ably, too often it is not.
I grew up in Jackson, Wyoming, before it was a ski area. It was a way of life. The last century has changed around here in Wyoming a fair amount, but maybe not as much as most of the world. I think it has to do with all the harshness of the landscape. A lot of people who come here don't appreciate the wild, sheer majesty of this part of the world. That is what I love about it most. I have to say that when I'm around large groups of people, I'm apprehensive. But when I'm in the middle of a ground blizzard, I feel comfortable. I don't know what to expect from people, but while this country is unforgiving, if you respect it, then you will be rewarded with wonders beyond belief. A few days ago, I visited Porcupine Hills, which is near Brokeback Mountain in the Bighorns. This Brokeback has an N in it. On the way back up, I lost my footing and fell, knocked over a rock, and there was one of those lapel pins underneath. It was all rusted up, but I could read the inscription. Are we over the rainbow yet?
It was nobody's business but theirs. And yet above, standing sentinel, a tree took in, along with sunlight, the radiance of an arm, a leg, embracing madly the other one, sheen of flank and thigh, dark hair, light bodies twisting, a vow, a threat, a promise, of love beyond love's own tired meaning. They imagined themselves invisible, yet sighing as they did. The boughs in the wind watched, trembling as they did. The branches longed to embrace too, the embrace upon the pine's own sacred needles. Summer ended. Years passed, a tree cut down firewood, but within the fire from 63 glowed there the memory of a love long past, an after-image, like the sun behind the clouds, behind closed eyes.
What is it about this movie? It keeps kicking me around. It's like everything I shoved away just so I could survive has decided to visit me in full measure.
Well, Annie Proulx may have intended to write a story about the destructiveness of homophobia. I think she wrote about something else, of which perhaps even she was unaware. A story about the destructiveness of emotional and physical abuse and the neglect of young boys. Had both Jack and Ennis had childhoods built on love, I'd like to believe they would have had the means to make things work, or at the least, make better choices. Without that foundation, they were doomed from birth. I find myself crying at inappropriate times. Real life has almost never felt this painfully real.
I'm 19. I came out when I was 14. We go through a lot that shapes who we are, how we view gay people, and how we relate to the others and have relationships. Growing up in a small town where I came out, I've had so much emotional and personal shit to deal with. I was met with a lot of tension and hate. It scared me. To this day, I have a hard time accepting and loving myself. But while Brokeback Mountain shows me what not to do, it also shows me that there isn't just one type of gay man. There's a connection to be found and shared between two people that no one else can verbalize, not even the people involved. Brokeback Mountain showed me that there are people out there who will love you for what you are despite all your flaws and tragedies, and that life and relationships aren't easy. There isn't always one happy ending, but the choices we make define us, and sometimes we have choices for a happier future.
I don't want to be known as a white woman. When someone sees me, I want them to think more than aging hippie. I'm both, but much, much more. And more than that, I believe this is true of everyone. I've been reading that those who control the language control far more. Categories, pigeonholes, gay, bi, straight are social constructs. They can be part of one's identity if one wants, but they aren't the person. It's wonderful when we train our eyes and hearts to see the entire person instead of one feature. It's too bad we can't teach that to kids in school. It would go a long way towards eliminating bigotry.
My son had several girlfriends, some quite serious, but it was only when I saw him with Alan that my husband and I realized that he really loved him. It has been so good for us to see that he has this capacity to really love someone. To me, he is just my son, who happens to love a man. Like everyone else, this film has got me good. I went to see it to help me understand my gay son, but you won't be surprised to hear that the person I understood better is myself.
I took my 14-year-old daughter to see Brokeback Mountain. She's in her last year of middle school. Thank God. And that fade phrase, "That's so gay," they all seem to be thrown around right now, is something I have been lecturing her to stop, but to no avail. She's not doing that. She's a sensitive kid, though, and I thought she could handle the movie. So we went. Halfway through the film, she was sniffling. When the postcard came back marked deceased, she started sobbing and didn't stop until we left the theater. She talked all the way home about how sorry she feels for Ennis and Jack. How could Ennis bear to live? She declared that he thinks he'll commit suicide. I pointed out to her that she was talking about them like they were real people, not movie characters. To give her a mirror, and she paused to say, "But they were so real. It didn't feel like a movie, Mom."
The minimum age to see Brokeback Mountain in Finland is 11. My friend's daughter is 14. Her class sees 2 movies each semester together as part of the school's curriculum. The students get to choose a movie, with the teachers vetoing if necessary, of course. This time, her whole class wanted to see Brokeback Mountain. The teachers resisted at first, but the class was adamant, and they all went to see it. They thought the ending was stupid, because why couldn't they be together? They had good discussions, not about homosexuality, but about losing a friend, about what it means to fall in love, about harassment and violence, and what it is like to be perceived as different. My friend is divorced, and she said that for the first time, her daughter had shared her feelings about it with her classmates, and later with her. But why had the teachers objected at first? They were afraid of the reactions of the parents. Not one parent complained, not one. Thank God for the next generation. Sometimes I'm proud of living up here north.
Brokeback Mountain is to be used as a teaching tool in high schools. Hooray! Makes me proud to be a Canadian. Again. The British Columbia Teachers Federation Homophobia and Heterosexism Action Group has developed a Brokeback Mountain lesson plan. Stated outcomes of the lesson plan are to encourage students, 1, to analyze how this movie reflects current day attitudes towards gay people, 2, to understand how homophobia impacts people's daily lives, and 3, to encourage students' personal choices in making the world more accepting of GLBT people. Among the questions given for discussion among students after viewing the film are the following. What factors influence homophobia in rural communities? How would they be similar to your local community? To what degree has life changed for rural LGBT youth since 1963, when this movie was set? What needs to change in society before Jack Twist's dream of him and Ennis owning a ranch together would be a non-event in a rural community?
I grew up in a small town in southeast Oklahoma. I always knew I would have to leave, and it tore me apart to have to decide between my home and family or a real life.
As a boy, I was blessed that my father took me camping and fishing in the Flat Tops wilderness area of northern Colorado. In this time with him, I learned to appreciate the world in its natural beauty. Brokeback takes me back to those places. They conjure emotions of connectedness, yearning, and humility. I remember those long summer days and starlit nights, telling stories around the campfire as the air began to chill. The experience was palpable. I can smell the smoke, taste the elk meat, feel the damp cold, and hear the crackling embers. A year ago, my father suddenly passed away. My brother and I took his ashes up to the mountaintop lake where he had taught us to fish as boys. It's one of the most important things I've ever done in my life.
Where am I now? You can't see me. Way up high among the hazy blue. And you can't know that I'm watching in the sweet, cool dream forever. Up here in the sweet forever, I can read your mind. The mind you never deigned to share with me. It's funny how I know you better now, since the world and I parted company. If I could, I'd comfort you and tell you it's all right. I'd sing the song that you once sung to me. But instead I'll watch you, see you safe in the sweet, cool dream forever. Ennis, being alone doesn't mend matters, and the whiskey ain't much help now either. But each new wrinkle, each gray hair I cherish in the sweet, cool dream forever. I heard you whisper vow to me. I heard your silent prayer. I know more than you did, what you meant when you said, Jack, I swear. Will you ever look up at the stars again and wonder what it's like up there? If you do, perhaps you'll see me in the sweet, cool dream forever. See me waiting for you here in the sweet, cool dream forever.
When I first saw Brokeback, I questioned whether I was happy. After a month-long evaluation, I decided I am happy, but need to get some passion into my marriage. After 11 years with the same gorgeous guy, we have gotten comfortable and need to make some changes. Many of us married women have been asking the same questions. This has turned into a process of self-evaluation for many of us, which is good. Everyone needs to make changes in their lives, and if this movie has sparked it for us, it is a good thing.
I too have lost that spark. I don't know why or how it happened. I turned 40 this month, and I've been married for 14 years. I have 2 kids, a house, 2 dogs, and a white picket fence. Yeah, you name it, I have all the things in my life that I thought I needed. My husband got his master's, and I've been in this job for 16 years. For the first time, we both looked at our marriage and realized that we fell through the cracks. We used to have all sorts of wild sex. We broke the waterbed once. What happened? Seeing this movie brought out so much I was not ready to handle. It made me think life was so precious. I've been trying to get my husband to see the movie. I want him to connect, but I don't like to nag. So I'll wait until he's ready. We had our first intimate talk last night in a real long time. We both admitted that we need each other and that we're still in love. But that could go bad if we just let it go. This movie gave me the courage to open my eyes. Brokeback saved my life. I truly believe that.
As a middle-aged married man, this story and movie have made me determined to re-examine my career and my job. I don't love what I do anymore, and it's time for a change. I need to take a look at the opportunities and see what I could be missing. I'm also determined to reconnect with old friends and strengthen the friendships I have. I am more of an Ennis type, and expressing emotion is difficult for me. I want to tell my wife and my kids more often that I love them. I want to hug my friends and tell them how special they are.
I am a heterosexual married mother of 5 kids. This movie changed my marriage. We've always had a good marriage, but after Brokeback, I saw how important it was for me to cherish my partner and to not take for granted the freedom we have to live and express our love both verbally and intimately. I feel like I just woke up from a long sleep. I feel haunted by the idea that life is half over for me. And I'm suddenly aware of how grateful I am for the treasure of my man, who's still sexy, caring, deeply committed, and my best friend.
I'm 39, female, totally heterosexual, and totally in love with my live-in boyfriend since seeing Brokeback Mountain. Jack died at my age. Ennis was left lonely, with important words never said and with deep regrets at my age. If I'm going to have a life partner, I'm going to be like Jack and love him to the point of reckless abandon. Brokeback showed me what fear can do, and I don't want to have those regrets.
One of my friends, a devoutly religious grandmother, bought Brokeback Mountain at the local Walmart yesterday. After viewing it, she sent me a most touching email. Like so many straight people, she had no idea how society had treated gay folk. It's reunited her experience. Well, seeing Brokeback Mountain for the first time 3 months ago, I started an intense email exchange with her about homophobia and how it affected my life. She knows now, and her reaction to the film shows it.
It has taken me nearly 2 hours to regain my composure. I need to talk about this film. It is so beautiful, so perfect, and so unbearably painful to watch. From the moment Jack drives away for the first of many times to Ennis crumbles in the alley, the truths come staring right at me, the ugly truths, the hatred that haunts their love, the lies they both must tell, the relentless onward movement of tragedy unfolding. I want all the Jacks and Ennises to live their lives in peace and love. I want the wretched hatred that flames in the eyes of the boss and of Jack's father to soften with acceptance and understanding. I want both of those beautiful boys to sit down at the table together and have a piece of mother's cherry cake. I want no bloody shirts in the closet. I want no closets at all. I want no reason to sob without comfort for 2 hours after watching a movie that reveals such excruciating pain that I feel raw and bleeding from exposure to it. That's what I want. Yes, that's what I want.
In the meadow on high, we would smell grass and pine, and embrace we would lie in the wild columbine. Scalding tears of guilt never said you are mine, and my lover died in the wild columbine. Weary life of regret, I will drown in wine, for my lover is dead in the wild columbine. Soul wilted and bled of my death warning sign, for my lover's long dead in the wild columbine. I will never forget, to my day's last decline, the smell of grass when we met in the wild columbine.
The single best part of this Brokeback Mountain journey, the part I hope will far outlast the novelty of having our great work of art, is that it has stirred a quiescent multitude of rural, suburban, and downright country gay men out of their settled, passive, and ultimately suffocating hidey holes. Having been disrespected or ignored by our so-called gay community, we have scanned the horizons and found a bleak landscape. By and large, we have settled, some for abstinence, some for furtive bathroom encounters, some for sex with prostitutes, some for computer porn, many of us all but given up the quest for a mate. The sad thing, and this applies to the real senior division here, such as myself, is that this is the time of life when engagement with the community and a friend and love really signifies the passage to a dignified rather than pathetic old age. My cat is great company, but he can't bring me breakfast in bed on a day when the joints don't want to work. Even sadder is those of us who have reached advanced age have a wealth of experience and hope to pass on. If only anyone was listening or ever thought that there was beauty and worth in aging. Most of a generation of talent, love, and experience was wiped out by AIDS. I can't speak for anyone but myself here, but being strong and authentic and forward-looking is a job that requires more fortitude than I can muster on my own most days. I thought I was pretty much just that, on my own. I can see now that I underestimated you. You are out there, and you share common life experiences and common fears and joys and sorrows with me. I hope crying or celebrating this film brings us together. I need to know that all of you are out there to move forward, and I really hope that some of us can become real friends. And most of all, I hope I can find my complement out there, hiding on a ranch or in a flat, or best of all, on a beach in Hawaii. It's been more than a decade since I slept in the arms of another man largely by my own choice, for I will not settle for Mr. Right now. I have worked too hard and paid too dearly to become the man that I am. To disrespect myself with one-night stands or weekend flings, tempting though that might be, I'm worth love. So are all of you, brothers.
I'm not sure I'm representative of any big demographic, but Brokeback Mountain has had one striking impact in the way I perceive the culture around me lately. It really offends me to see pop culture icons and entertainers resorting to the old stereotypes of gays for humor. Most entertainers will stop dead in their tracks about jokes that stereotype women or African Americans, but with gays, that type of offensive stereotyping has never been questioned until now. Brokeback Mountain has put a universal, dignified human face on gay humanity. People may be talking a while to admit that many families everywhere have members who are not straight, but Brokeback Mountain delivers a stunning lesson that individuals' collisions with their gayness is a matter of supreme seriousness, maybe tragedy, maybe even majesty, and that anyone who wants to make fun of it is seriously embarrassing him or herself.
Brokeback has become something very precious, profound, life-changing, even sacred.
I dragged my rather conservative hubby to see Brokeback Mountain. I warned him not to make comments or say anything during the film. He actually behaved pretty well. Well, anyway, the movie ends, and I'm crying like a baby, and he turns to me and says,
They shouldn't make movies like this.
"Oh, here we go. I don't need this right now." Well, what do you mean, honey?
Well, the ending was so sad. I don't like feeling like crap after a movie.
Oh, honey.
What?
Am I the only person crying in this theater?
No, there are a couple of guys crying over there, and that girl, and I even had to hold back tears.
So, the big macho, conservative, sports-loving Stallone fan actually loved the movie. He is so getting lucky tonight.
I've been feeling pretty devastated as of late. This may sound odd, but weirdly enough, a movie about a relationship between two men contributed to my recovery greatly. It's bizarre and I can't figure it out. The heat generated from the movie screen, getting the chance to read the forum, sharing in everyone's stories, squealing and giggling, it's amazing therapy. And my awareness of myself as a sexual being, well, I kind of feel like my pilot light has been reignited. How strange is that? I'll be in Montana next month, got family there, and them cowboys had better look out. It cracks me up that some folks get all offended at the content of Brokeback. In all likelihood, it'll cause more straight cowboys to get laid than any other movie in history.
We never meant to hurt anyone, but we couldn't help what we were doing. We were in love.
Up all night, listening to the ticking of the clock on the kitchen wall.
Up all night, waiting for the sound of your footsteps down the hall. Coming home to me, coming home to me. But it's after dawn, and you're still gone. Baby, tell me what's going on.
Up all night, watching for the sunrise out of the corner of my eye. Up all night, wondering if you'll tell me good morning or goodbye.
Baby, where'd you go? Baby, where'd you go? Well, I guess I know, and it ain't too far. What I don't know is who you are.
Up all night, too busy crying to go to sleep. Up all night, thinking about some vows I thought we'd keep.
Every time I lay my head on my pillow and closed my eyes, all I could see was you turning into a stranger right in front of me.
Up all night, I was just coming outside to say hello. Up all night, if there was a secret, how was I supposed to know? Didn't mean to spy what you have to hide, but then I saw you two hidden out of you, and now I have a secret too.
Up all night, too busy crying to go to sleep. up all night, thinking about some vows that I thought we'd keep.
Every time I lay my head on my pillow and close my eyes, all I could see was you turning into a stranger right in front of me.
Little did I know. Oh, even strange how much can change when an old friend comes to town.
For me, there's a simple explanation to why so little talk of Alma and Marie. I'm a straight woman raised in a patriarchal to the extreme household. I can tell you the suffering is par for the course. We know it, we feel it, and we live it one way or another every day of our lives. We know more than we care to about emotionally unavailable and cheating men. Although that I believe without the suffering of the families, the mothers, wives, and daughters, this movie would not have had the impact that it does. It would not be the work of art that it is. The fact remains that we already know about these women. We are laid low by this movie because we can finally connect to masculine pain. Because we have not had an occasion to see two men in a timeless romance, they are our focus of this film. When Jack says the truth that he misses Enna so bad that he can hardly stand it, Jake Gyllenhaal made this movie so real and so human, I will never see men, especially gay men, the same, ever. They become something new, something fully human. I thought I was missing something, and I thought I had empathy. I have nothing. Since I now fully identify and connect with the men, they are telling my story as well as women. The two men also have equal power, so we as women are drawn to them to tell our story in a way never told before by women characters. It is a powerful thing for us to have our hearts rendered anew in male bodies. That's why I think the men are so stunning.
How is it that I never knew, through all the lonely years ahead, the things I would mourn the most were all the words we never said? Grieving still for the vows unkept, and of the music still unplayed, with tears unwept that flood the soul, for promises we never made. When efforts to recall your smile call up a stranger's face instead, when memory fails and vision pales, I'll regret those words unsaid. As time winds down and days go short, and evening falls with vespers rung, my tears will up and fill my heart with all the songs we left unsung. Drowned in the silence of your eyes, as you deign to follow where I led, the sadness lingers in my heart, still haunted by those words unsaid. And when my last mistake is made, in the place where lost illusions stir, I'll mourn the chances left untaken, and all the dreams that never were.
Draw me a picture, tell me a lie. Paint it with stars on a midnight sky. Send me a signal, show me the way. Back down the road to our yesterday. The place once safe is ours no more.
I'd draw me that picture, tell truth and not lie, painted in rainbows on a brilliant blue sky. You'll send me a signal, you'll show me the way, back over the mountain to a happier day. That plan, so safe, will be ours once more. It's all right, I'll wait just a little bit more. This life I live, so your memory I'll keep. I love you, I miss you, and I'll see you in my sleep.
Strong arms, moist, warm breath, soft song memories here near time, the rainbow stops.
How can we care so damn much for two people who aren't real?
This movie is a part of my skin. What can I do?
I am a 33-year-old man. I have been married for 10.5 years and I have 4 kids. The last 8 months of my life have been turbulent, and I think that's why Brokeback Mountain has had such an impact on me. I have lived like Ennis all my life. I was born into a Christian family that lived by the book, literally. And I've grown up doing the same, but all the while having an internal struggle that I'd hoped would go away. I secretly liked guys all my life. I got married to a nice girl who actively pursued me. Marriage was expected. To come out to my family would have been the most disastrous thing I could do. We were perceived as the perfect family. I am one of 5 children, and I was not going to bring shame to the family. In comes Brokeback Mountain. I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. This movie rocked my world. It shook me to the core, so much that old baggage that I had been carrying for so long finally loosened enough that I had to drop it and look at it. After many counseling sessions, much pain, and looking into my life and my wife's life, we decided it was best that we divorce. During our counseling sessions, I revealed that I had a thing for men, and that I felt this way all my life. But we decided to try to maintain a friendly relationship for ourselves and even more for our children. I moved into our spare room. I find depression knocking on my door regularly. Life is hard right now. If nothing else, Brokeback Mountain calls you to action. If this movie awakens something in you, you have to act. My eyes have been opened.
Brokeback Mountain has scared me, as only a good religious experience could. I'm known for my gloom and doom, but Brokeback has rocked me to the core like nothing before. I haven't felt depressed since I downloaded the trailer last fall. Sadness maybe, but with happiness and standing strongly beside it. If I ever do get depressed again, I will listen to the soundtrack, face the sadness head on, have a good cry, and let it all out and feel the weight lift. I am in love with this new life experience. I've read that the high of a new love can last about a year, so we'll see. I can't help feeling that I'm not the same person I was before all of this started. I feel like the past has been wiped away. And for the first time, I feel that life is not as bad as I thought it was.
I'm 21-year-old, and I'm still in the closet. I'm pretty much one of the guys. I'm not remotely interested in the gay scene. I don't hate it, it's just not my thing. Even though I'm in LA, it's pretty hard to find someone like myself, so I've never had a boyfriend. Before I saw Brokeback Mountain, I felt I would end up alone. I never thought I would find a guy and have a fulfilling relationship. And now as I type this, I hate myself for giving up that dream without a fight. The idea of finding true love came back into my life. Brokeback Mountain helped me come out of the closet to myself.
I have a rather uplifting story for all of you in the closet. Oddly enough, it begins with the horrifying events at the Oscars. It was so unbearably depressed about that awful night and couldn't imagine how something so terrible could have happened. Crash. Are you kidding? Anyway, the next day I came home from school early, and my older brother was home because of spring break. He asked me what I thought of the Oscars, and I admitted I had hated it. I wasn't out to him technically, but I always felt it was the proverbial elephant in the room. I knew he knew. We just never talked about it. He continued to prod me as to why I had hated it, and what a word it was that upset me so much. And finally I said it. I had seen Brokeback Mountain.
Last month I came out to my mother. She's 93. Of course she knew. Of course. I come from the Jack and Ennis era. We didn't talk about it for lots of reasons, but my dear mother asked why I was so upset. I told her some of my friends had committed suicide 40 years ago because their parents rejected them after learning they were gay. Yes, they did.
I am different.
My mother replied. God bless her, and God bless Brokeback Mountain, and everyone who brought it to the screen. The miracle continues.
For the first time in my life, I feel hope. I had shut down completely without realizing it. I just existed, that's all. Existed. This morning I woke up happy, really happy for the first time in a long time.
Life has opened up. I've dated for the first time in my life. I've lost over 30 pounds, yes, and I've worked my ass off. I'm in 2 plays, and I'm recording my 3rd CD. Such a great rush began and has continued since that cataclysmic night back in mid-January.
Since seeing Brokeback, I find myself looking at men with uncontrollably dopey eyes. You can't get any dopier than my eyes right now.
Brokeback Mountain allowed me to come to terms with some issues of my past, but somewhere lurking in the back of my mind, I always knew there was more. I just couldn't find it. In the last few days, I have pieced together my thoughts, fears, and needs to explain myself and what has happened to me. It was after reading the story 3 times, searching my soul long and hard, and facing what I knew to be the truth, I made a radical decision. I quit my job after 19 years. I can't believe I'm putting this in writing. I'm staying on to wrap up a few projects, but I'm out at the end of the month. I'm looking for a job, but I have no prospects of it yet. I'm divorced, 57 years old, with 2 kids and 5 grandchildren. And I did the stupidest and the bravest thing I have done in my life. I can't live in misery for fear of what the future might hold. Not anymore. I am laughing to myself and at myself, although on some level I am scared to death. I feel a lightness in my heart that I have not felt in forever. None of you made this decision for me, but all of you enveloped me in love, compassion, and understanding. You helped me to come to terms with myself and what I needed for myself, not for what I thought other people expected. Bless you all.
Brokeback Mountain puts everything in perspective now.
An opportunity for Brokeback speech came up this past weekend when we were away in the mountains, having, yes, a Brokeback vacation. It's not the season now for snow, but heavy clouds, low temperatures, and a chilly forecast combined to give me a chance to say, gonna snow tonight for sure. How bloody pleased with myself I was.
Has Brokeback Mountain given you hope and made joy more possible? I know it has for me. For instance, my partner and I have definitely found a new spiritual center and a more joyful expression of our relationship. I also feel more able to share myself at a deep level with others. That's part of self-acceptance, I suppose.
This is what I was missing all my life. I called Heidi, my Janek, and said yes to that little cow calf operation. It's gonna be a sweet life.
Time for Post 4000. Last December, this movie came out. Suddenly now I have radically expanded the base of my friends. Even though the gay movement has always paid lip service to diversity, I've always found that it was the pretty and the young who have always been most valued, not folks from blue and white collar jobs, everyday folks. The ideology of the movement has always advocated coming out. However, if you don't conform to many of these stereotypes, then you come out to a void, to nothing. The forum is a community where communication is the essential element. People are allowed to express their hearts no matter where they are along in their development, and that's a good thing. One of the reasons that Ennis was unable to move forward in his life was because he couldn't see where he could go or what he could be. What this place has given me is a place where I can be myself and see my way forward with people who are like friends and family to me, regardless of their gender, their age, or what they look like. And that's really a good thing, something worth treasuring.
The most important thing about Brokeback was not its commentary on the consequences of the closet, which is what I think most gay men who have seen the film relate to at first, but its re-examination of the traditional constructs of masculinity. As a gay man who grew up feeding and corralling cattle, building fences, and working summers in an oil-field roustabout outfit or in an auto repair shop, I have to say that deep down, Jack Twist makes sense to me. The bedrock of my personality, my identity, was laid down in those hard places in those quiet times. Brokeback Mountain has much to say to men about how often the regime of masculinity demands the beating human heart as a sacrifice. Brokeback allows gay men to declare false and folly the rigid, reactionary tyranny of the cowboy myth, a myth that Hollywood has coddled and perpetuated. We can be emancipated from this myth.
The truth is, the mythical Hollywood cowboy is emasculated. The real cowboy finds his manhood in the freedom to say who he is, to be who he is, to make his own way. Brokeback requires a man to do his work. It is honest work, the work of opening your heart and exposing it to cold mountain air, laying yourself bare as the ice-scathed rock. You have either the desire or the ability to do that kind of work. You have to be brave. Bravery is a virtue in limited currency. Who among us is brave enough to lead? From my vantage point, on the mountain, I see vast territories to explore. I see that there are trails through the great American desert laid down long ago. I see it in the passes through the peaks. Go west, young man. It is our destiny to be better than we are.
As a member of the Brokeback Forum and as a author in the book, out of what, 176 of us, we have two other authors here who are also moderators on the forum. But first I wanted to tell you that this picture that you've been seeing is actually Arizona's own Brokeback Mountain. It was taken by Cowboy Dave and his partner on their porch on the north side of the San Francisco peaks. And it's always had a special place in my heart for that. But I'd like to introduce to you Linda Andrews and John Trudell. If they'll come up, please. They flew in from San Francisco just to be here. They've been to every performance so far. So come and tell us just a little bit about what the forum.
I'm originally from Texas. I'm a widow for about, I guess, 10 years now. I saw the movie. It changed my life considerably. I made the decision to sell my house, move from Texas at age 54 out to the San Francisco area. I always tell people that the movie has made an extreme impact on my life and that I'm living my beyond hope.